Hi, everyone. I am joined by Lena Rachel Anderson and Zach Stein to talk a little bit about the upcoming event being hosted at Sky Meadow Institute, Education and the Future of Democracy. Um, Zach and Lena will both be participating and wanted to kind of just hear a little bit about some of the things they hope to maybe get into, some of the discussions, some of the topics that'll come up. Yeah, I guess I'll throw it to you first, Lena. This is your a big trip to the States, and yeah, what are you looking to get out of this exciting event?
So I'm looking forward to having some discussions about where on earth are we heading and where would we like to direct it if we could. We are facing some new technologies that are basically, I don't know, tearing the blanket away from under the feet of our civilization and the structures that we know, the institutions that we know, and the education that we know. And we're educating for, I don't know, the 20th century, 1980s or something like that. And we have not updated what we teach and how we teach, and definitely not with regards to artificial intelligence. It's really interesting that one of the first reactions to artificial intelligence was, oh, how do we prevent people from cheating? Instead of saying, oh, wow, how do we need to teach in a different way so that people understand more and AI is not, more interesting than what we do in the classroom. And we need to have a discussion about this as a civilization, not just I don't know who's going to show up in Vermont. I'm looking very much forward to meeting everybody. But we need to have this at a much larger scale. So
Yeah.
we're creating a little chapter of that.
Yeah, awesome. And I know that relates a lot to your work too, Zach. Care to speak about any, especially the artificial intelligence component is something you're very vocal about.
Yeah, I mean, we're standing kind of at a crossroads in terms of educational futures. And so there's many possible educational futures right now, many of which are really bad, and some of which are actually kind of incredible, right? So there's that sense of, and one of the main things there is what we could call advanced technology. And the big component of that's AI. But there's other things occurring in too, in biology and other places, what I would call like the cyborgization. I think today Elon Musk to put a microchip in someone's brain. And so the question of what it means to be human, what it means to be a person, the nature of intergenerational transmission, even the nature of joint attention, meaning like me and you paying attention to something together, is becoming weird because if you're talking to a chatbot, you're not holding joint attention with another being. You're interacting with a machine, like a causal system, not a system that is using language and making inferences bound by the rules of logic and ethics, right? So it's a very different type of relationship. So we're in this place where some of the very fundamental things that we take to be the nature of human, if you will, but even saying that is hard to say today. So it's hard to be an educator. And I think many of them, as you're saying, are worried about it as if it's something else. Like, oh, it's cheating. Like that's the problem with AI. Or even the idea that it will take our jobs is underestimating the significance of the way it will interfere with intergenerational transmission, I think. So that's certainly one topic. And then the relevance of all that to this thing we call democracy is a whole other topic, which is that's been the superordinate value for which we educate. We educate why? For democracy. That's kind of been our ideology, not mine, but like us, the West. And what do we do now when it's really clear that we have the tools and probably we have the tools to make a society that's not a democracy, let's put it that way, if we haven't already started to use them. So that's some of what's on my mind.
Yeah. Now it's easy though to see a lot of this converging towards a kind of doomer apocalypticism, like, oh my God, the AI and what kind of dystopian future awaits us. Um, I'm personally hoping that that won't be the final statement from the gathering. So, I mean, in terms of looking towards the future, especially in the context of what we can get up to in a weekend symposium and trying to be sort of action oriented about this, what are both of your thoughts? We'll start with you, Lena, on sort of like uh prospects for the future that are actually not dystopian and maybe even cause for hope, and two, like the kinds of things that we can actually do coming out of these sorts of conversations to help actually implement those sorts of more positive future visions.
I think we need to think about what is education. I mean, why do we educate in the first place? And actually, education is one of our biggest joys. School has managed to ruin that completely. If I were to design a system that would kill the curiosity in every normal, healthy child, I would basically, take 25 or 30 kids of the same age, put them into a room, tell them to sit still for 45 minutes, not allow them to speak or go pee if they needed to, unless they asked me for permission. And then I would talk for 45 minutes, and then I would ask them to reproduce what I've been saying, and then I would grade them on how closely they would get to what I'd already told them. And if they couldn't, I would give them the impression that they were stupid. So we have managed to kill the joy of learning in a lot of children. And it's really sad that when we all need new education right now. We need to upgrade our understanding of the world. Otherwise, we're really going to be, can I say screwed?
Yes.
And when you talk to adults who are not already happy about education and engaged in it, most adults say, school, again, never forget about it, because it has been such a bad experience. So we need to reinvent what it means to learn together with others and have good experiences with broadening your worldview, learning new stuff, and being excited about it. And one thing that gives me hope is that um, whoever makes you grow and learn new stuff and become more informed and grasp more of the world, you end up loving those people. So whenever people push you and you sort of mm, transcend a boundary of knowledge or meaning making, whoever takes you sort of beyond that boundary, whether you like it or not when they do it, like in the military, for instance. But if you survive it and you've learned something and you realize, oh, I could accomplish that too, you end up loving those people. And that's why a lot of men who've been in the army hated it while they were there. And then afterwards, they look back at it as, the happiest time of their life. And we had so much fun. It was horrible. It was mud and cold and out in the freezing weather. But boy, did we love it. So there is something about education that we need to rediscover and reinvent. And it doesn't have to be sitting still, reading books, and just regurgitating what somebody else has said, because that is boring.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. I mean, I agree with everything that was said, and by Lean there. So in my second book, The Education in Time Between Worlds, I lay out this vision of an education hub network. And although it's not explicitly stated, it is stated that it is a machine intelligence backend that can turn a city into a school. Right. So that was the vision, like Ivan Illich, where you create this really complex set of algorithms and artificial intelligence, if you will, which at no point ever pretends to be a human or speaks to you. Key. But what it does do is it registers everyone in the whole city, everything they're interested in, and everything that they're willing to teach about, and then their available time and where they are. And then this thing orchestrates this vast time and skill sharing network, which makes explicit all the implicit educational relationships that are already in the city. That person wants to learn piano, that person teaches piano, right? That person wants to be a leader, this person's a leadership expert, right? So all of that stuff, which is now implicit, can be made explicit, and the machine intelligence can be used to orchestrate and put a new premium on actual human-to-human interaction, rather than the direction it's going now, which is the machine intelligence running interference between you and other humans, pretending to be a human. That is terrible. That needs to actually stop. We should legally stop that. It's a separate issue, especially for kids. But the possibilities of applying artificial intelligence to education in ways that work are huge. They're just not the ones that are probable. They're massive. They're possible, but they're not likely to occur for a bunch of reasons. But that vision of the education hub network, there are groups already trying to implement that. It seems like a logical next step. But it's very different from the AI tutoring systems, which will be massively profitable and completely destroy teacher-student relationships. I would argue that we could use machine intelligence to make teacher-student relationships more powerful, more impactful, right? The AI can get the right people together because it knows everything about you. The AI can give materials. It doesn't teach you, but it can give materials. It can create materials. So there's all of these ways that we can use it, which we're unlikely to, because our main archetype is Hal. Our main archetype is Hal, right? The glowing red dot who talks to us, Dave, right? I'm running the whole ship, Dave, right? That's what we think AI. We think thing that's like a human, that's way smarter than us, that will eventually turn on us. That's like, well, that's like what we think of when we think of AI. And something like 30% of the AI researchers, meaning that 30% of the people who work in the field, believed that AI could destroy us all. But they're still working in the field. Now
And
imagine
still I keep working on it.
so imagine if 30% of the people designing the airplanes that you fly in were like, oh, well, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Like you wouldn't fly in the airplane, right? But the AI engineers, like 30% of them think it might kill us all. And some of that's because of the archetype we hold, some of that's because of the class of technology. And then the fact that they would be that grossly irresponsible gets to Bildung, right? Which is the reason the scenario I'm laying out won't occur, which could occur, which is the educational hub network, is because of the socialization of the technologists who don't want to put a premium on human-human relationship because they don't like human-human relationship. They prefer human-machine relationship. Their best experiences have been human-machine relationships, video games, programming. All of their money, all of their acclaim come from world-creating mathematics, relation to computer. People are complicated, wetware is messy. So you have to see that there's a
They got feelings and stuff, and they need lunch, and they got kids, and they,
totally. Why wouldn't
they look themselves in the mirror, and they have all this vanity, and it's just like, no, give me an avatar that I can shoot. That'll work.
Right. So that's a little bit of where it's not that these futures are inevitable for this class of technology. It's that we're very myopic in our imagination about how it's going to be used, and we're dominated by this archetype of what artificial intelligence is. And that's evidenced by ChatGPT being the thing that made us worry about it, when in fact, like all the Facebook, all of the customized advertising, all of BlackRock, all of this finance stuff, your Tesla that drive, that's all AI. But we didn't think AI came until it started talking to us, because that's what we think of it. And so we're going to keep pursuing that line. And that's a line where it talks to us and then it kills us. So there's like a self-fulfilling prophecy thing, even with the computer programmers, who they welcome the digital second coming. They don't want to be human. They want to be transformed into the transhuman.
And have that chip in the brain, I guess.
Yeah. That's a whole element to this, which it sounds like will probably be coming up in the symposium, maybe a lot. This sort of accelerationist, transhumanist ideological component to the kind of ideological backdrop of a lot of this stuff. And you mentioned Bildung, and I feel like that is precisely what isn't in the picture, that is sort of the crucial corrective to the misunderstood, misplaced priorities and this sort of teleological, eschatological vision, that we're headed towards. But I don't know, Lena, speak to one, how does Bildung, reorient that Titanic away from that iceberg? What is it about, that seems to be so promising? But then two, can we do that in time, right? Given the current state of our educational system and how broken it is, is this something? And again, I'd like to be hopeful too, but I mean, both the timing and the Bildung element of this.
I cannot promise you that you won't cry when we meet, but I promise that we will laugh a lot. So Bildung is as I now define it, when I have to be brief about it, is there's two different kinds of knowledge: the transferable kind of knowledge and the life experience. So the emotional depth and what you get from making a fool out of yourself, or falling in love, or having kids and all that stuff, or meeting in a workplace and not clicking with your colleagues and trying to figure out what am I doing wrong, what are they doing wrong. And when we talk education right now in school, we tend to focus on the transferable kind of knowledge, which can be either academic knowledge or practical knowledge, like, I don't know, how to build a chair or bake a bread or something like that. But there is the life experience in becoming you and figuring out who you are and what is my role in life and how do I make life meaningful to myself and my surroundings and what is my responsibility, where do I belong. You can only do this with other people, and that's what makes us human and makes life meaningful. And I mean, if we actually got the chip that could just upload all kinds of knowledge to our brain, and if it were somehow related to the network in the brain, so it's not just that one place in the brain with a chip that got upgraded, but everything throughout the brain, so it made sense to us, the, I don't know, Encyclopedia Britannica, whatever it is that we would have uploaded, life would actually be so incredibly boring. I think we would all end up with a depression because, as I said, one of our biggest joys is learning, and life becomes meaningful from those pushbacks and mistakes and joys and victories and learning stuff and saying, oh, wow, I accomplished this. And if you can't accomplish anything because, you got a chip that'll just download it, there's no fun left. And another thing is, by the way, how often do you have to have a new chip and how do you upgrade it? And if you don't have to actually surgically have a new chip, how do you prevent somebody from hacking your chip and taking over your brain? So yeah, I think it raises a lot of interesting questions, but the most interesting ones are probably how do we how do we how do we remain happy? Um, and how does life remain fulfilling? And there's another side to the technology is that we've become so efficient at producing that we don't really need ourselves anymore for our own survival. We could hand over everything to robots and AI. Not yet, but I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 years. So what would life be like if we really did not have to work? If there was nothing we had to get up to do in the morning that was boring and awful and yeah, full of discomfort, that was like, hey, I accomplished this. Now I deserve whatever it is, a cup of coffee, big lunch, or something like that. So all these conveniences are, it's great, but just look at food, for instance. Now we have uh, a, a medication against overeating because it's so easy to overeat. It's like we're an idiot. We're a species of idiots, and that's what makes us so adorable.
I know that's my particular charm, is my idiocy. Well, towards the close here, yeah, I mean, one of the things I'm hoping is that the people who attend are also bringing some passion to implement, actionable change and to try to engage with the theory and the thinking and the sort of conceptual what ifs and what is going on, but also saying, hey, look, what if we did this, or I am doing this, and what if we did this together, etc. So that's sort of a plug for people who are listening to us talk and are interested, and especially those who are thinking like, yes, these are the things that I am also passionately concerned about and am actively trying to do something about. And so I hope that there's a lot of bringing together the theory and the praxis of all this, which I know is an important thing. Yeah, just in the last final minutes here, any I don't know, final reflections or just some thoughts on what you're hoping to get out of the weekend, the symposium, or anything you'd like to say about it? Zach, we'll throw it to you, I guess, because Lena just said. Oh, you're muted.
So,
Yeah, this will be an event where, the goal is to kind of produce new knowledge. Right? So the goal is to kind of like cook together new insights. And so the idea that we would come away from it with new things to do, new ways of understanding our own situation, new ways of explaining things. So I'm looking for that, the give and take and deep dive. Kind kind of like long duration conversation. Yeah, and it'll be cold. Probably get a fire or something going, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. Nice wood stove. I envision lots of warm beverages.
Caffeine. Yeah, caffeine.
I'll also say too that the context here of the of being hosted at Sky Meadow Retreat, it's not going to be like a sterile conference. You know, this is going to be a lot more kind of an intimate gathering, people living together for the weekend and connecting like human beings with all of our lovely idiosyncratic, idiotic foibles that we stand to benefit from. But I think it's a special place to have these kinds of conversations. Lena, any final thoughts you want to throw in the mix?
I mean, I'm really looking forward to, as Zach says, to have time to discuss this. And I hope that there will be some people who bring in some other perspectives than ours, and that we can have a deep and meaningful exchange about this, because as Zach says, we're at a sort of a transition point, or I mean, the structures that we know and have grown up understanding or been taught to understand are falling apart or being broken apart, and we need to create something else, and we need to figure out what that is. And so I'm curious about who you're drawing in, and what part of my network is going to show up also, because there's some interesting people there. So I'm looking forward to seeing many of them.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to the whole thing. I think it's going to be really invigorating, elucidating, and yeah, I look forward to cooking up some knowledge with all of you guys, and seeing what comes from that. Well, cool. I'll post a link to, for people who want to register for this and give some more information in the link and other things like that. But for now, thank you both so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, looking forward to it.
Thank you.